Hello students, welcome to today's EduSat class. In today's class, we shall first discuss about application writing and then we shall discuss about letter writing. First, let us start with writing application or application writing. You know, in the prevailing pattern of examination, the application writing carries 10 marks. You can imagine how much mark, 10 marks, very important from the point of view of your examination, because your English question paper carries 100 marks. Out of that 100 marks, if you attempt only one question, that is application writing, then you are getting 10 marks. If you compare that with your grammar book, for your class 9 you have 12 chapters in the grammar book. For your class 10 you have 10 chapters in your grammar book. If you study the whole grammar book, learn so many rules and regulations, and then if you are able to attempt all the questions properly, then only you are attempting 10 marks. But here if you attempt only this application question, writing application, you are attempting 10 marks. So, from the point of view of your examination, writing application is very important. So, before we go to learn anything more about application writing, let us be acquainted, be familiar with the format of the application. So, let us discuss the format of the application writing. The format and the mark distribution means the mark that each unit of this format carries. First, let us discuss the first item, that is addressing the person to whom the application is written. The person or the authority to whom we are writing the application, how we should address that person. We have taken an example, you can see that on your screen. For example, to the headmaster, AJO High School, Phulbani. You can see each item of this addressing the person is written one below another. You can see that some students, they have the habit of writing the whole address and designation in the same line and putting comma. That does not look so well, and it is not that legible also. So, for the point of view of carrying good impression and to make the application look good, you should write it in this way, and if you are writing it properly, then you can get 1 mark, because this particular constituent or part of the format of the application writing carries 1 mark. Let us go to the next item of application writing, that is the format of the application writing. Here salutation. Salutation carries half mark. If you can write the salutation properly, you can get half mark for that. And what is salutation? We have taken an example, you can see on your screen, sir, and we have put a comma in the bracket. That means comma is optional. If you write, put the comma after sir, it is okay. If you do not put it also, it is okay. But you can, if you write only sir, or if required, whenever it is required, madam, then you will attempt half mark, you may get half mark for writing only this much. Let us go to the next part of the format, the content. The most important part and most valuable part of the application writing is the content, because it carries 6 marks. The maximum mark that the any part of the format of the application writing carries is this content part, it carries 6 marks. We shall discuss about this content part in detail in later slides, but let us discuss other parts of the format of this application writing. Let us go to the next item of this format. Next item is your subscription. Subscription carries half mark, and what is subscription? We have taken an example, you can see on the screen. For example, yours faithfully or yours obediently, and a comma is put between the brackets, that means comma is optional. You can put the comma, you may not put the comma, that hardly matters. But look at this yours. I find that some students have the habit of putting apostrophe in that yours. Some students put the apostrophe after S, some students put up the apostrophe after R, but it is not at all required. If you put the apostrophe, that is the wrong way of writing yours. So, when you are writing yours, you should not put any apostrophe there, and you can write either yours faithfully or yours obediently. When you are writing the application to your headmaster, you may write yours obediently or yours faithfully, but if you are writing the application to other authorities, then you should not write yours obediently, you should write only yours faithfully. Let us go to the next item of this format of application writing, that is the full signature of the applicant. If you write the full signature of the applicant properly, it carries half mark. So, you can get half mark. Let us take an example. We have taken an example here, Amit Mohanty. So, if you write the name of the applicant, full name of the applicant, then you are getting half mark for that. The next item in our format is the address of the applicant. That is one of the most important part, and it carries 1 mark. For example, we have taken AJO High School, Phulbani. We have put a comma, that is in the bracket. So, putting the comma or not putting the comma, that is your choice. If you put it or if you do not put it, that hardly matters. But where to write this address of the applicant? It can be written at the top right hand margin. It can also be written at the top left hand margin. It can be written at the left hand margin below the content. You can see to the right side of your slide, there is an application written, and you can see 3 arrow marks at 3 different places. There is an arrow mark at the top right hand margin. You can write the address of the applicant there, or you can write the applicant at the top left hand margin, or you can write the address at the left hand margin below the content. You can write at any of these places, but not all these places. You can write at any place, but not all the places. Then let us go to the next item of the format. The format and mark distribution. Next item is your date. Date carries half mark. So, where to write that date? This date has to be written below the address of the applicant. You can see there at 3 different places this arrow mark is given, the address of the applicant is given there. Below that address of the applicant, we have put the date. Now, how to write that date? Look at this example we have taken. You can write the date in 4 different ways. You can write it 10th July 2020. You can write 10 July 2020. You can write July 10, 2020. You can write July 10th, 2020. There are 4 different ways, whether you write 10 or 10th, whether you write the month at the beginning or the date at the beginning, that hardly matters. But what is most important here when you write the date is that you must write the month in words, not in number. I find many students writing, for example, 10th July 2020, students generally write 10/7/2020. But if you might think that you are writing it properly, correctly, but if you write it in this way in your examination, although you think you write correctly, you are not going to get any mark. So, remember, when you write the date, you must write the month in words. So, these are the different parts of the format we discussed. Let us go to the next item, that is some tips about the content. As I told you earlier, the most valuable part of this format or the application writing is your content. It carries 6 marks. So, it is essential for us to know how to write this content part. The most important part is that one can't get any mark for the format without writing the appropriate content. What does that mean? Suppose you wrote the different items of the format that we discussed properly, correctly, but you do not write the content, then you are not going to get any mark even for the format. Means for the format there is 4 marks, for the content there is 6 marks. You write the format correctly, 4 marks, but if you are not writing the content, you are not going to get any mark. And also, what type of content? Appropriate content. Suppose the question is about your sister's marriage, and if you write the content about digging of a tube well, that is inappropriate content. So, you are not going to get any mark for that. So, it is essential for you to write the content and write the appropriate content. Then only you can get marks for different parts of your format. how to write this content. Now, when you start the content, the first one or two sentences should deal with what the applicant wants to convey to the authority. What you want to say to the authority, you have to write that in the first one or two sentences. The next few sentences should elaborate the cause or causes behind it, if any. If there is any cause or causes behind what you want to convey to the authority, you should elaborate that in the next few sentences. Then any additional fact or facts related to it, if there is any additional fact or matter related to that what you want to convey to the authority, then you can write it in the next item, in the next part of your content. Now, these three items we generally write in the very first paragraph of the content. We generally write the content using two paragraphs. In the first paragraph, we should follow these three steps. Then the last paragraph should deal with what relief the applicant wants from the authority. The last paragraph, whatever you want from the authority, you should write it in the last paragraph or the next paragraph. Let us come to know something more about this application writing, some general tips. When you write the application, especially in your examination, never write your real name or school name or address in the application in the examination. Then whose name should be written? Read the question carefully to find out the applicant's name and address, as well as the designation and address of the person to whom the application is addressed. That means, the name of the applicant and the address of the applicant and the designation of the person to whom you are writing the application and his address, they are given in the question itself. You have to read the question and find out these things from the question itself. Then what else? Use formal language and simple language. When you write the application, you must use formal language, but you should not use high sounding words, but simple words, so that one can understand what you have written. So, using of simple language is good for application writing. Then another part of this application writing is the subject sentence. Remember, we do not get any mark for writing the subject sentence, but it is essential to write the subject sentence. Now, where to write that subject sentence? Subject sentence can come before or after the salutation. Salutation means sir or madam. So, you can write the subject sentence before salutation or after salutation, but in the modern way we generally write salutation after this subject sentence after salutation, but from your exam point of view, it hardly matters, you can write it before salutation or after salutation. Now, where to get that subject sentence? Subject sentence can be easily identified from the question itself. So, you can see here that if you read the question properly and try to identify, you can identify so many things. You can identify the applicant's name, that can give you half mark. You can identify the address of the applicant, that can give you 1 mark. You can identify the designation and address of the person to whom the application is written, that can give you 1 mark. So, 2.5 mark of the format you are getting simply by lifting it from the question. Simply you have to identify it from the question and write it in your paper. Then you are also getting the subject sentence from your question. So, these are the important things that you can get from the question itself. Let us go and discuss something more. How to get this information from the related to format from the question? Let us take some questions and have a practice of that. Suppose you are Amit Mahanti, studying in class 10 of Mahatab High School, Pallahada. The students of your class want to play a friendly cricket match with the students of class 9 of your school. Write an application to the headmaster of your school requesting him to permit you to hold the match. If you look at the very first line, suppose you are, in some questions it is written imagine you are or you are. whatever is written, there is a name given after that, it is the name of the applicant. Here Amit Mahanti is the applicant. Then studying in class 10 of. So, in the question also, you are somebody of something, imagine you are somebody of something. So, after of there is an address given. So, you should be sure that this after of whatever address is given, that is the address of the applicant. Then if you go to the next sentence after that, write an application to the. So, if you analyze that line, you have to write the application to whom, whatever is written, that is the designation of the person to whom you are writing the application. And since here it is of your school means same address, Mahtab High School, Pallahada. So, that is the address of the person to whom the application is written. Then the subject sentence, important part, is requesting him to, whatever is given after requesting him to do something, that is your subject sentence. So, here permit you to hold the match is your subject sentence. So, by taking one question, we discussed how we can identify different parts of the format as well as the subject sentence from the question itself. In the next episode, next part, we shall take some more questions and analyze them to identify these important parts, and also we shall have some practice of writing this application. So, let us take some more questions and discuss the different parts of the format, how it can be identified from the question. Let us take some more questions. Look at the screen, you can see the question. Suppose you are Sunil Pradhan. Like the previous question, here also whatever is written after you are, that is the name of the applicant. Name is given, that name of the applicant. Of Hobak High School, G. Udayagiri. So, after of what address is given, that is the address of the applicant. Then you have passed the annual HSC examination 2020. Write an application to the headmaster of your school. So, whatever is written, write an application to, then there is a designation given. So, that is the designation of the authority to whom you are writing the application. Then of your school, your school, so the address has to be the same like that of the applicant. So, the designation and address of the person to whom you are writing the application is the headmaster, Hobak High School, G. Udayagiri. Then requesting him to, after to written, issue your school leaving certificate. So, that is your subject sentence. So, by analyzing this question also, we find that we can easily identify the name of the applicant, the address of the applicant, the designation of the authority to whom we are writing the application and his address also, then we are able to identify the subject sentence. Let us have some more practice. Let us discuss the next question, that is, suppose you are Bhaskar Soren of Dantiamuha Betanoti in Mayurbhanj district. So, here also suppose you are, after that Bhaskar Soren, that is the name of the applicant. Of Dantiamuha Betanoti, there is an address. So, that is the address of the applicant in Mayurbhanj district. Then write an application to the chief district medical officer of your district, that is the designation of the person to whom you are writing the application. And what is his address of your district is written. So, the district is Mayurbhanj district. So, that is his address. To set up a dispensary in your village. After to, whatever is written, that is the subject sentence. So, here also we find that we can very easily, by simply analyzing the question, we can identify again the name of the applicant, address of the applicant, designation and address of the authority to whom we are writing the application, and the subject sentence. Let us take a question and write a real application. Let us go to the next slide. You can see here the question is given. Suppose you are Amit Mahanti, studying in class 10 of Mahtab High School, Pallahada. The students of your class want to play a friendly cricket match with the students of class 9 of your school. Write an application to the headmaster of your school requesting him to permit you to hold the match. You see, I have highlighted them in different ink. you can see the name of the applicant, the address of the applicant, the designation of the authority and his address also, and the subject sentence. We have discussed this question earlier. Let us see how we can write this application in a proper manner. You can see here the address of the applicant, Mahatab High School, Pallahada. It is written at the top right hand margin. You can write it at the top right hand margin, you can write it at the top left hand margin or the left hand margin below the content, but here we have written it at the top right hand margin. Then the date, you can see 6th July 2020. You can use any other way. I used one way, you can use also 3 other ways as I mentioned you earlier. Then to the headmaster, Mahatab High School, Pallahada. Then through the class teacher. You see, we have not discussed this part, but this is an essential part. When you are writing the application to your headmaster, you must write through the class teacher. Although this part does not carry any mark, it is essential when you are writing the application to the headmaster. After that, subject, request for permission to hold a friendly cricket match. This sentence we have taken from the question. We have not written anything from our mind. Then sir. So here only you can find we have written something from our own mind, that is sir, as I discussed, it is salutation, very easy to write. All other items we have lifted from the question. After that we should start the content. Now as I told you, the first 1 or 2 sentences should deal with what we want to convey to the authority. So you can see, I would like to state that the students of our class propose to play a friendly cricket match with the students of class 9 of our school in the school playground next Sunday. This is what you want to convey, that you want to play a friendly cricket match with the students of class 9. Then the next part of this content, let us go to the next slide and see. We have discussed with them and they have agreed with us on the proposal. This is an additional part related to what you want to convey to the authority, that you have discussed with the students of class 9 and they have agreed to your proposal. And then another additional part is, we have also consulted our physical education teacher and he has given his kind consent to guide us. Now since you are playing a match in your school, you have to take the help of your physical education teacher to guide you. So you must consult him and he must give his consent to that. That is what we have written. So we have written the 3 parts of the content here in the first paragraph. Then in the last paragraph, therefore, on behalf of the students of our class, I request you to grant us permission to hold the match, for which we shall remain grateful to you. Very simple. Here what relief you want to get from the authority is to grant you permission to hold the match. That is the relief that you want, and you are writing that in the content in the last paragraph. After that, yours faithfully, you can write also yours obediently. Then Amit Mahanti, the name of the applicant, and since he belongs to class 10, you have to write that. So in this way we see how we identified different parts of the format from the question, and how by following the different steps of writing the content, we are able to write the content as well as the format properly. Due to shortage of space, we have taken 2 or 3 slides to show this, but if you write it in a single page, how it will look, let us see. You can see this page towards the top right hand side, and whatever we have discussed, it is written in one page. Size of the letter might be very small, might not be legible to you, but you can simply guess how it looks. So in this part, what we discussed is application writing, how application writing is very important from the point of view of your examination, because it carries 10 marks. Then how or what are the different parts of the format of the application writing and how much mark each unit of that carries. Each unit, some units carry 1 mark, some carry half mark, but they are all important. Then we discussed how most of the items like the name of the applicant, the address of the applicant, the designation and address of the authority to whom we are writing the application, that these 3 items carry 2.5 marks and they can be identified from the question. Only thing you have to write the SAR from your own mind, then you have to write the date, today's date, but be careful when you are writing the date, use the or write the month in words, then you should write yours faithfully or yours obediently. Simple practice, then you can get 4 marks for the content. After that, we discussed how to write the content and how writing the content is important and writing the appropriate content is important. Without writing the appropriate content, you are not going to get any mark, even if you are writing the format properly. We took 3 different questions, analyzed and saw how we can easily identify the different items of the format as well as the subject sentence. We took a question and followed the format or advice that I gave you through this episode, and we found how we are able to write a proper application. I think you should follow this advice and make as much practice as possible, so that after some days you can write a proper application by without taking help of anybody, by simply analyzing the question. Thank you.